Hello everyone. I just want to do a fairly short intro video for our course this semester on Geography 152, World Regional Geography, and introduce myself. My name is Jay Nelson. You'll see John on my email and all the names on your course, but I go by Jay. And I'll be your professor for the semester in this course. Just a little bit about myself. I just like to do these intro videos so you can put a face with the name. Since this is an online course, I've been doing this now for a couple of years. It's a little bit impersonal. I prefer to see students in person. I can kind of read you better. I can answer questions better and kind of know what you need from me a little bit easier. But it's also helpful for me to get on screen here, even though I hate really making videos and seeing myself on screen, just like most people do. It's good to have a person behind all the computer work that we're doing. So I am a native of Glasgow, Kentucky. I teach here at Sky, South Central Community College, so probably most of you are going to Sky, but some of you may be from other KCTCS colleges from across the state. I haven't really looked at the roster quite yet. I know there are at least a couple in here from other parts of the state. And I'm from Glasgow. I currently live in Allen County, Kentucky, which is near Bowling Green. And I'm an adjunct professor, like is posted on all my signatures and all that. So what an adjunct is, if you don't know, is basically I'm a part-time instructor or professor. I have a career that I currently work at full-time. I'm an environmental scientist with the Kentucky Department of Natural Resources, and I do a lot of work with farmers and the environment. I manage a few statewide programs for the department, and what we do is we work with farmers to keep them from polluting the water, the groundwater, the surface water, local rivers in the state of Kentucky. So that's my primary gig during the day. I'm a scientist. My background in education, I've got my bachelor's degree from the University of Kentucky. I have a dual degree in geography and environmental science. So that's what qualifies me to teach this course. And I also have a master's degree in environmental science from Western Kentucky University. Specializing in karst studies, which means caves and sinkholes and underground water, the groundwater, and all that. So that's a little bit about my background. You'll see some of my examples and some of our work. I'm an avid whitewater paddler. I still get out and I have my own raft, kayaks. I travel mostly over the eastern United States doing whitewater. I do it international as well. That's one thing that I really like to do when I travel internationally is I want to find a river somewhere that has fast-moving water so I can go kayaking or rafting. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later. That's why I mentioned that. Some of you might think that's okay. Some of you might not care what I do for a pastime. But I actually use geography when I do that. So that's going to kind of lead into what we're going to talk about this semester, and that's the discipline of geography. And geography is kind of a tough discipline to explain what it is sometimes. It's one of those things, you know it when you see it. Probably examples are better used to describe exactly what geographers do. But it is a multifaceted discipline, which means it's not very specific on one topic. The most specific thing I can tell you is geography studies humanity on the surface, the planet Earth, on our world. And we use spatial characteristics, and spatial is just a fancy word meaning where things are located, to help us understand why things are the way they are, or help us to make correlations to why things work the way they work, or things occur where they occur. So obviously from that very general description, you should know that maps are going to be a very important part of any geography course. And that's kind of what geography is known for, is the maps. Now, the actual making and study of maps is called cartography. That's a subdiscipline of geography. However, geographers use maps on a constant basis in order to make correlations. Like I said, there are multiple things we could consider here. So when you have geography, rarely is anybody just a general geographer. You're going to have people that specialize in things like medical geography, or cultural geography, or physical geography, or environmental geography. Even criminology has geographers within it sometimes. So we are able to take a lot of different information and compile that information and use a spatial network to be able to figure out sometimes what problems are. My wife loves like true crime stories, watches Dateline and all that stuff all the time on TV. And I see them use geography a lot in trying to solve murders. I saw an interesting little story a few weeks ago on a show online or on TV that I watch sometimes, and it was talking about how geographers are actually solving the case of, some of you may have heard of Jack the Ripper. If you have not heard of Jack the Ripper, he was a serial killer in London, England, back, and don't quote me on the date, I'm thinking 150 years ago or so, something like that. So back before we had a lot of technology, they never figured out who he was. But now they think they might know, or at least have a couple of candidates on who that might have been, using maps and geography, studying where the crimes took place, some of the clues to those crimes, going back in time and kind of reassessing what was happening on the ground there through maps and correlations of where these things took place and what type of person might be able to have done that, something like that. So just an interesting fact there. There's all kinds of different stuff that we use geography. You might have remembered during COVID, we all remember COVID just a few years ago, when you turn on the news, pretty much the first thing they would show was a map of where COVID was the highest, or the best, or the least, or whatever you want to call it, or the spread of COVID. So you use maps in that. So we use maps in pandemics and endemics. And then there are other ways that we might use it, and I'll stay on the medical topic here. Something that we've actually looked at in some of my previous career work, not in this specific job, but I worked for the EPA at one time, and we use geography to try to map out disease and try to find a correlation between disease and what was going on in that general area. For instance, if we have a very high instance of a type of cancer in a certain area, then we might take that area geographically and say, okay, what else is in this area? So we might have, say, a map, and we have these dots representing cancer patients, right? So then we might take another layer of a map and lay it on top of that and say, here's all the factories in the area. Then we might take another layer and say, here's all the factories that use this chemical that we think might be. Are they close to these? And that's how we can use geography in something like medical science to try to figure out some cause and effect relationships in the medical field. So that's just a few examples I'm giving you of how geography can be used. It's used in everything. And what you're going to find during this course is geography and human history are tied together intimately. They work hand in hand. Because when we study where and how, we have to look back before our time and see some of the whys. So how did the climate, or how did this mountain range or this or that affect human history, and how has that led up to what we're seeing today? So when you look at geography within the context of this course, World Regional Geography, that's the pretty baseline course that you're taking in geography. That's what everybody thinks geography is. We're going to look at countries and what we call realms, meaning regions of similar characteristics in people and language and religion and all that. And we're going to compare those across the world. We're going to kind of take a world tour during this course and look around the world and just learn what's out there beyond our little box that we live in. We all live in a little box, right? I have my house here. I have my whitewater stuff, my circle of friends that do whitewater. So I kind of live in my box. If I never get out of that box, it might be a fun box, it might be decent, but still it's a box. If I don't know why somebody else might think a certain way, or why people in another country might feel a certain way about the United States, all kinds of information that we see in the world around us, there are reasons for all of it. Now, in today's world, it's very difficult with the politics involved because they want to divide us up. You have to pick a side, then you got to march down that road, whatever side you're on, right? Well, it's not that easy. It's not as easy as they want to make it seem. If you think a certain way, you're thinking the right way. That's not true. There are thousands and millions of different ways to think in this world, and all of them have a little bit of fact in them. For some reason or another, it all has to do with perspective. And if there's one thing that I want my students to get out of these courses is the ability to think and reason and to go out and find information that you can trust. That kind of goes back to the political thing now. We have all these news sources that, they want to bend your mind a certain way and tell you, well, this is how you should think. No, you should have the ability to go and find the factual information and then make a decision for yourself. That's what's severely lacking in this world today. And I hope this course will at least put you on the right path to be able to do that. To look at another culture and say, hey, you know what? There's a reason they might not like the United States, and I kind of understand why. And I'm not using that as a bad. I'm not saying you should hate. That's probably not a good example to use for some people that might be sensitive to that. I'm just saying in every different scenario in the world, there's a reason for why people think or act or do what they do. It might not be right, it might not be accurate, but there's a reason there, and the better that we can understand those reasons, the better we can interact with one another and solve these problems. So that's what I want you to get out of this course, the ability to learn to study, to learn to reason, and to look up and identify information on your own if you want to find that information. And I hope that that's what most professors want out of their courses. Because, full disclosure here, I was your age once. Some of you are probably my age. I've had several students that are non-traditional students that are a little older in life, and that's fine. Most of you are probably college age. I went to college at one time. I was the same as you. I can honestly tell you that probably 90% of the information you learn in classes right now, you'll forget within 3 or 4 years. The details. However, if you develop good habits from those courses and you develop your brain into thinking, how can I figure out this problem, or how do I go about finding this information, then that's going to serve you for a lifetime. Even though you might forget the minute little facts, it's really going to help you later. So that's what I want you to get out of this course. Most of you are not going to major in geography. It's not offered through KCTCS as a major, so you would have to go to another college. I have had a couple of students that decided they really liked this course, and they were going to go on to another institution to major in geography, which is great. And if you think you want to do that after this course, by all means, talk to me, reach out to me, and I will give you information and give you as much help as I possibly can. However, for most of you, this is going to be an elective, and I fully understand that. So I'm not going to make this course so hard or so difficult that you're not going to be able to pass. I want to be reasonable with the assignments, and I want everybody, I always pull for my students, I want everybody to make an A or B in this class. Now, if you do the work, you keep up on your assignments, don't get really, really behind, and you put in the effort that's required, there's no reason you can't make an A or B in this course. The majority of my students do. However, I have also had to fail a few students because they simply do not do the work, either refuse to or for some reason don't get it done, and they fail to communicate with me. Communication is another thing that I would like for you to get out of this course and your college lives. Communication is key throughout life. So if you're going to have a problem getting an assignment in on time, if you're having an issue with learning, or if you're having an issue with the assignments or getting to your textbook, you have to tell me and let me know. In the syllabus, I think I'll give you 2 weeks. It says 2 assignments. It's basically 2 weeks. So if there's a quiz and a test in that 1 week, that counts as one. 2 opportunities. You have to let me know up front before it happens. Say, hey, I can't get my assignments in this week. I'll give you 2 chances to make up work late. And if you have something else happen, I understand. If there's a death in the family, if you have an illness, we'll work around that stuff too. If you ask any of my students from the past, I'm very reasonable. I try to work with everybody as well as I possibly can. and I want you to succeed. But you have to have some skin in the game as well. I do have a responsibility both to the college and to you all to teach this content. So just be respectful, communicate, do your work, and we should be pretty good. If you read your syllabus, you're going to see that I do require you to have Google Earth downloaded. It's very, very preferable that you use the PC downloaded version of Google Earth. And I have a whole video on that, on how to download that, and I'll have whole videos on how to use that. We're going to use that throughout the semester. And what Google Earth is, you probably all use Google Maps on your phones to get directions. Similar thing, except on steroids. It has all kinds of tools in it, all kinds of geographic information. You can measure, you can find anything. There's actually photos on there. You can go to Street View. A lot of different things that we're going to cover, and we're going to use it throughout the semester. So if there's one thing you take away from this video today is make sure you pay attention to that Google Earth, because you're going to be seeing it throughout the entire semester. Now, one thing I've learned is I like to get outside the box just a little bit. This is a typical lecture course. The tests are going to have, all assignments and tests are going to have multiple choice, fill in the blank, discussion questions, and Google Earth questions. What Google Earth does is it allows me to get away from the textbook and the boring reading and all that stuff. It allows us to kind of tour the world virtually. And some assignments, I'm going to pick out the places for you. I want you to learn and use these tools. But some assignments, I'm going to let you pick the place. Somewhere you're interested in. For me, example, like I said, I do a lot of whitewater stuff, so I'm going to pick a river somewhere. You might like something else. So as we travel around the world during the semester, I'm going to let you kind of tell me some of the stuff that you like, and then I'm going to ask you some questions about it. Okay, why you like this, and that's great. Why is it important geographically? Explain to me its importance to the region or to the realm or the country, wherever it's okay, that kind of thing. So I hope that makes it a little more interesting. Most of the feedback I've gotten has been pretty positive on the Google Earth stuff. So even though it's an extra thing to do, it fits into your assignments nicely, and it's really easy once you master it. But you need to watch the instructional videos to be able to figure it out on the most part, unless you're just a natural with that kind of stuff. So I think that's most of what I have. The textbook will be available through e-textbook online. So in the Student Start Here section, you will have a section on how to access that textbook. It is through Wiley is the publisher. Now they have their own learning system in Wiley, but I just use the textbook. So you won't have an account. You'll have to open an account to access the textbook, but you will do nothing in their learning platform. Everything will be in Blackboard for you with regards to your assignments and all that. You just have to access the textbook through that account. So, and the instructions are in that Student Start Here section on that. So I think that is about it. Let me see my notes here real quick. I think I've covered everything. Again, the biggest thing for me is communication. Reach out to me, keep in touch. I'm going to be sending out reminders and announcements throughout the semester. Kind of the State of the Union sometimes. You're doing well in this, or might need to brush up on this type of thing. And one other thing I'm going to mention, I'm gone a little longer than I really wanted to on this first video, but I've been requested to have some more student interaction in my assignments. So I'm going to include some discussion type things on the discussion little message boards that we have in Blackboard. And you all need to participate in those. I'm actually going to tie that to the homework assignment. I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do that yet. I need to play around with it first. But I'm going to have it kind of as an open discussion, so you can respond to me, you can respond to other people's responses. I'm going to have it just open and let it, we need to talk about the topic at hand, and I'll select that typically, unless I ask you to identify something or a place that you might want to talk about. So I would really like for y'all to participate in that. As far as Blackboard goes, I try to have the assignments up at least a couple of weeks in advance of their due date, if not a little bit more than that. If for some reason you're going to be on vacation or something like that, shoot me an email and let me know, and I can get them up a little sooner if you would like. I do kind of recycle my lecture videos from semester to semester. So probably I'm not going to do this course until next semester. So um, most of the lecture videos will be repeats from the spring. I probably will update the lecture video at least on Russia, and we're kind of having a little issue with Russia right now in Ukraine. So I will probably at least update that lecture video so I can have more up-to-date information on that since last semester. But some of these will be recycled. But I'll also be putting out kind of update videos during the semester. And again, communicate, communicate, communicate. I don't have my cell phone number on the syllabus because I was a student once. Again, I don't want people calling me at midnight on Saturday night because something's wrong. But if you really need to talk to me, send me an email, and I don't mind sharing my cell phone number with you if you have an issue and we need to talk about something. So that's it for this video. I'll be sending out announcements and reminders on things. And please keep in contact with me. If you want to just shoot me an email and introduce yourself, I'm more than happy to interact with anybody. And if you need help, especially if there's something you're not getting, not understanding, you're having problems with Google Earth, reach out to me, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to help you and to kind of teach you some information on how to navigate the world of geography. So thank you, and we'll be talking soon.